Hey guys, if you have a specific video request that you would like me to do but haven't done yet, you can check out my Discord server at discord.gg/donghua, where you can leave suggestions for vlogs and what's meta videos for the future. You can also encourage others to try my Discord server and make Discord servers of their own. Discord is completely free and it helps support me making new content. The bot lane meta has shifted drastically over the preseason. Last season, the bot lane meta was revolved solely around ADCs being the hyper carry, doing all the damage, and supports doing everything in their power to buff and protect them. Tank supports are stronger than they have ever been before thanks to the insane value of the tank masteries like Aftershock. Supports like Leona, Alistar, Braum are super strong in just about every single elo. But one tank champion has been severely undervalued in the general player base. Though he's not generally associated as a tank support, he is definitely one of the best tank supports in the new meta. That champion is Shen. Shen has always been highly valued in pro play thanks to his natural tankiness and global map pressure. But this season, support Shen was also valued because of his early game aggression. Seems weird, doesn't it, that a tank champion like Shen is capable of putting out more damage early game than an actual damage support? But with Aftershock just being so strong, if you get taunt at level 1 like most Shen players do, support Shen's damage alone is enough to chunk an enemy ADC out to half health. And since you have Aftershock resistances on you, plus Shen's passive shield, it's really hard for the enemy to win a trade in that scenario. Top lane tank Shen is generally considered a frontline split pusher. Support Shen is a strong early game engage tool with decent late game peeling. In the early game, Shen players are just constantly trying to land taunts whenever you have Aftershock up. Since bully AD carries are meta right now like Jhin and Misfortune, taunt plus your Q combo is enough to completely shit on most enemy laners. In terms of early game potential and damage, Shen is actually somewhat comparable and close to Leona. Although Shen can't 100-0 an enemy ADC by himself, Shen's early game is strong enough to let you play aggressive throughout most of the laning phase. Although Shen's taunt is easily stopped by any kind of knockback CC, which is more prevalent in the bot lane anyway, you can flash in the middle of your E to land a guaranteed taunt on the enemy ADC. Try to flash just behind or right on top of the person that you're trying to taunt. Another great tool for engage supports is Hextech Flash. Although it's not something that every single pro Shen player takes, Hextech Flash is definitely more useful in average elos. Most people forget that this ability even exists. You can bush camp to get into better positions in order to land your taunt. It's got approximately the same cooldown as your regular taunt anyway, and even when you're channeling it, a lot of people don't actually realize that you're channeling it. It kinda just looks like your champion is having a small seizure. The most important thing in the laning phase is landing your taunt, but the second most important thing is the position of your Q. Shen's Circle Shield is a ridiculously strong ability, especially in the bot lane, where auto attacks matter the most. You only get one shot at using it because it's such a long cooldown. So you have to remember not to just recklessly use your Q in order to do a little bit more damage. If you think your ADC could potentially be in danger, you need to save it in order to get an actually effective W off in order to save your AD carry. A really well-timed, well-positioned Shen W will essentially make them invulnerable to physical damage for a period of time. Now, one of the most important aspects of supporting is roaming. And when you roam on support, you always carry the risk of your own AD carry overextending, getting gangbanged by the other two laners, and dying. This usually occurs because your own AD carry isn't paying attention to where his support is, and he ends up overextending because he thinks his support is right behind him. But with Shen, roaming is more apparent because you're channeling your ultimate and making a really loud constipation sound. This lets your ADC know that shit is going down and they need to back off or they'll get shit on themselves. That is probably the best part of Shen support. Alternatively on Shen, you can also walk to another lane, gank that lane, and then use your ultimate to get back to bottom lane if you feel like engaging a fight is more successful in a certain matchup. My favorite way of ganking on Shen is going to mid lane, using Hextech Flash over this wall and diving whoever is currently under mid lane turret. When people are hugging their towers, they naturally feel a lot safer, and so they're inclined to stay longer. Remember that Shen's early damage is really strong. His mid and late game damage is very low because you constantly build tank. Your goal in the mid and late game is to just catch people out for your carries to do damage, not do the damage for them. Because Shen's kit is so diverse, you have multiple ways to approach a team fight. If your team is ahead and you have a lot of engaged champions, you can look for an engage on a critical target with your taunt flash. If you have a tank champion that has better engage than you do, you can ask them to engage and then ult on top of them to follow up with that engage. Generally speaking, what Shen's kit is really designed for is peeling. Against the right team composition, his W can grant invulnerability to some champions for a period of time. Remember that your W not just blocks auto attacks, but any abilities that count as auto attacks, such as Ezreal Q or Nasus Q. This can be really frustrating for those champions because they basically can't do any damage in that period of time. But also remember that Shen's Spirit Blade does quite a considerable amount of damage. It's based on the enemy's max HP, so Shen doesn't ever need to buy damage items in order to do damage. Although support Shen will never deal as much damage as a top lane Shen, he'll still deal a fair amount of damage to enemy champions. The order of your abilities that you should be maxing is E, Q, and then W. Although W is a ridiculously good peeling and protect tool for your AD carry, even at max rank it's still a 12-second cooldown. It's more important to have a short cooldown on your Q so that you can reposition it more often. It's better to get one really good W off than two mediocre Ws. Usually in a team fight, all the damage to try and burst out an AD carry will be done in a short frame of time. So long as you can keep them alive in that frame, your AD carry should live. Once you know your backline is secure and safe, then you can try to go for multiple people with flash taunts. Whilst everyone is hitting you, use your W to stall for time and let your AD carry hit them for free. One of the best aspects as Shen support is, even though you're a support, you can still split push. You cannot split push to the same level as a regular tank Shen, but you can at the very least hold an enemy split pusher. Split push champions are usually based around auto attacks, and Shen's W negates auto attacks. So it makes him really ideal to hold these top laners' attention, waste their time, and make sure that they don't contribute to any upcoming team fights. The enemy laners can't ignore you either because you'll just taunt them under the turret, forcing them to engage you. Right now, Shen support is being picked up by more and more notable Korean supports. And in a few weeks, people will realize that he is in fact one of the best supports right now. He has good laning, good map presence, and good peeling. Almost everything that's needed for a support. He is much more difficult than Leona or Alistar, but if you have good map awareness, good game sense, and good matchup knowledge, Shen can be much more effective than any of the other tank supports.